In a 700-year-old manuscript lies a secret that completely rewrites a key chapter in the history of science.
Inside this manuscript is a breathtakingly accurate model of the rainbow, and I mean complete with the math for both a primary and a secondary arc.
The entire explanation was hidden right here, in these medieval diagrams, drawn by a genius who was almost completely forgotten. Today, we're going to uncover the incredible story of Theodoric of Freiberg and his lost masterpiece.
Okay, let's get into it. The information for this explainer comes from Theodoric of Freiberg's own 14th century work, De Iride, 8 De Radiabilis Impressionis, and also analysis from the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. As always, the links to the bibliography are in the description below. So, to really understand this amazing discovery, we first need to meet the investigator himself, Theodoric of Freiberg. Theodoric was active in the late 13th and early 14th centuries. Now, this was not the Dark Ages we often imagine, not at all. It was a time of incredibly intense intellectual debate. He was a leading scholar at the University of Paris, a contemporary of huge figures like Thomas Aquinas, and was right in the middle of the biggest scientific and philosophical questions of his era.
And Theodoric was a true polymath, who was a top figure in his Dominican order, deeply involved in metaphysics, theology, and, importantly for us, the natural sciences. He really followed in the footsteps of his predecessor, Albert the Great, who believed that the natural world was like a book, just waiting to be read and understood.
For more than 1,000 years, the rainbow was just this beautiful puzzle. Thinkers like Aristotle believed it was a phenomenon of the entire cloud reflecting the sun's rays, and that was the accepted wisdom, a big picture explanation for this mysterious event.
But Theodoric, he proposed a completely radical shift in thinking. He realized the secret wasn't in the cloud as a whole, but in each individual raindrop acting like a tiny little prism. He just abandoned the big picture to focus on the smallest possible component, and that, right there, was the crucial leap forward. Now, what made his approach so revolutionary was his use of geometry. He literally traced the path of a single ray of light through a magnified spherical raindrop. This wasn't just some philosophical musings, it was a rigorous geometric proof based on the principles of optics known at the time. He meticulously laid out a three-step process. First, refraction as the light enters the drop. Second, one internal reflection off the back of it. And third, a final refraction as it exits. He showed that this exact sequence is what splits the sunlight into colors and sends it back to the observer's eye. But he didn't stop there. He also solved the mystery of the secondary rainbow. He proved it was caused by a second internal reflection inside the droplet. And this double reflection explains not only why that second bow is fainter, but also why its colors are reversed. It was just a complete, elegant, and perfectly correct explanation.
So this is the really critical question. If his explanation was so good, so correct, why did it just disappear for nearly 300 years? Why did thinkers like Descartes and Newton have to rediscover it all over again?
Well, the answer isn't some simple story about religious suppression. Actually, Theodoric saw his own work as a way of glorifying God's creation. The real reasons are much more common, even today: academic politics and just plain bad luck.
You see, his work got caught in a perfect storm. He held philosophical views that put him at odds with the rising star of the day, Thomas Aquinas. Well, after Aquinas was made a saint in 1323, his way of thinking basically became the official doctrine for the whole Dominican order. So thinkers like Theodoric, who disagreed on some really key points, were just sidelined. And remember, this is all happening long before the printing press could have spread his ideas. His brilliant work on the rainbow was stuck in just a handful of hand-copied manuscripts, pretty much dooming it to be forgotten.
But Theodoric's story is way more than just a historical footnote. It actually offers some really powerful lessons for science and innovation, even today.
So what can we learn from all this? Well, first, his story reminds us that progress isn't a straight line. A brilliant idea is fragile if there isn't a system to preserve and share it. Second, it shows the incredible power of reframing a problem, going from the complex to the fundamental. And third, it proves that even the best idea can die if the intellectual and technological environment isn't ready for it.
So here it is, the memorable talking point. Look inside the drop, not at the cloud. It's so simple, but it's incredibly powerful. To solve a complex system, you have to first understand its most basic unit. It doesn't matter if you're in business, engineering, or research. Before you try to fix that whole giant cloud, first analyze the single drop. That is almost always where the real breakthrough is hiding.
For a mind like Theodoric's, scientific inquiry wasn't an act of rebellion against faith. No, it was a form of devotion. It was a way of appreciating the incredible beauty of the world, of understanding the mind of its creator through the pure elegance of natural laws. So here's your call to action. Think about a big, seemingly impossible problem in your work right now, your cloud-level problem. Now ask yourself, what is the fundamental unit of that problem? What is your single drop? I want you to challenge the scale of your assumptions, because the most elegant solution might be waiting for you when you shift your perspective from the macro down to the micro.
Disclaimer and bibliography in the description.